So you're a videographer looking for tips, tricks, and advice on how to make your interviews better. You've come to the right place. So there are a lot of different lights that you could use for lighting interviews. In my mind, there are basically 4 different types of lights. There's actually more, but there's only 4 that are in basically my price range. First of all, there are incandescent lights, and those are the type of lights that you see in a house. Basically, the way they work is electricity gets passed through a resistant metal filament, and it creates heat and light. A lot of the energy that you put into an incandescent light is actually converted into heat. So they're very hot, they're very inefficient, but they're time tested. You can get them for cheap. So that's the first category, is incandescent. The next category that I work with is fluorescent lights, and you'll see a lot more professionals nowadays with these fluorescent light heads. Most of the time they're in tubes. The fluorescent bulbs are in tubes, and you can get great light quality off of these, a professional fluorescent head. You can get them in daylight balanced, or you can get them in incandescent balanced. So those are two different bulbs though. So the drawback on that is that you have to swap the bulbs out. But fluorescent are more efficient than incandescent, and they're not as hot. They do get warm, but they usually don't get hot. The third category, which I use a lot of, are LED lights. There are a lot of great LED lights on the market, and there's a lot that are getting cheaper and more accessible. The advantage to LEDs are that you can get them in different color temperatures. They run very cool. They generally have good light quality, and they're portable because they're durable. I mean, this is all these things that are valuable with LEDs, and so because of that, I use a lot of LEDs. The fourth category, which sort of falls into the LED category, is colored LEDs. And you'll notice behind me I've got a blue and a red. Both of those heads can do a number of different colors. And so colored LEDs, I sort of put those in a different category because you use them for different things. And then there's other categories like HMIs, HIDs, and stuff like that, but I don't use those mainly because they're cost prohibitive. So those are the 4. So those wind up being the 4 categories that I personally have in my production van. And I also want to show you my very first lighting setup. I built this from work lights from a hardware store. You can put together a kit like this pretty simply, and I bought each piece separately. I bought the umbrella, which is a diffuser, which we're going to talk about in a second. I bought the umbrella holder and the light holder, and then the work light goes back inside here, and it all fits onto a stand. You get a nice even diffused light with this, and it was really good for me because I didn't have much money when I was getting started, and so I needed to be able to build a lighting kit from a hardware store. So this video is not primarily about shooting on the cheap, but that is a good option. Are those work lights with a good diffusion on them.